A view of the heraldry, or the coats of arms of the savages. After a perusal of the former accounts I sent you of the ignorance of the savages with reference to sciences, you will not think it strange that they are unacquainted with heraldry. The figures you have represented in this cut will certainly appear ridiculous to you, and indeed they are nothing less. But after all, you'll content yourself with excusing these poor wretches, without rallying upon their extravagant fancies. They make use of the blazoning represented in the cut for the following purposes. When a party of savages have routed their enemies in any place whatsoever, the conquerors take care to pull the bark off the trees for the height of 5 or 6 foot in all places where they stop in returning to their own country, and in honor of their victory, paint certain images with coal, pounded and beat up with fat and oil. These pictures, which are designed and explained in the ensuing chapter, continue upon the peeled tree for 10 or 12 years, as if they were graved without being defaced by the rain. This they do to give all passengers to understand what exploits they have done. The arms for the nation, and sometimes a particular mark for the leader of the party, are painted in colors upon these stripped trees, and for that reason 'twill not be improper to subjoin a description of them. The 5 Ottawas nation have a sinopole, or green field, with 4 elks in sable cantoned, and looking to the 4 corners of the escutcheon, there being a heap of sand in the middle. The Illinois bear a beech leaf with a butterfly argent. The Nadoeses, or Sioux, have a squirrel gules, gnawing a citron ore. The Hurons bear a beaver sable, set squat upon a beaver kennel argent, the midst of a pool or lake. The Outagamis bear a meadow sinopole, crossed by a winding river pale, with 2 foxes' gules at the 2 extremities of the river, in chief and point. The Poteutamis, called Puants, bear a dog in argent, sleeping upon a mat d'or. These people observe the rules of blazoning less than the other nations. The Omamis have a bear sable, pulling down with his 2 paws a tree sinopole muffy, and laid along the escutcheon. The Okaipos, called Satyrs, have an eagle sable, perching upon the top of a rock argent, and devouring an owl gules. An explication of the hieroglyphics that stand opposite to the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, being placed at the side of a column representing the foot of a supposed tree. If we take the word hieroglyphic in its natural sense, 'tis only a representation of sacred and divine objects, calculated according to the ideas we have of them. But without any regard to the etymology, I choose rather to make use of the common privilege of an infinity of authors in bestowing the title of hieroglyphic symbols upon these figures that correspond to the following letters. A. Opposite to this letter, you see the arms of France with an axe above. Now, the axe is a symbol of war among the savages, as the calumet is the bond of peace, so that this imports that the French have taken up the axe, or have made a warlike expedition with as many tens of men as there are marks or points round the figure. These marks, you see, are 18 in number, and so they signify 180 warriors. B. Over against this letter, you meet with a mountain that represents the city of Montreal, according to the savages, and the fowl upon the wing at the top signifies departure. The moon upon the back of the stag signifies the first quarter of the July moon, which is called the stag moon. C. Opposite to this letter, you descry a canoe, importing that they have traveled by water as many days as you see huts in the figure, i.e. 21 days. D. Upon the same parallel with this letter, you see a foot, importing that after their voyage by water, they marched on foot as many days as there are huts designed. That is, 7 days' journeys for warriors, each day's journey being as much as 5 common French leagues, or 5 of those which are reckoned to be 20 in a degree. E. By this letter you perceive a hand and 3 huts, which signified that they are got within 3 days' journey of the Iroquois Tsonontuans, whose arms are a hut with 2 trees leaning downwards, as you see them drawn. The sun imports that they were just to the eastward of the village, for you must observe that if they had marched to the westward, the arms of these savages had been placed where the hand is, and the hand had been turned and placed where you now see the hut with the 2 trees. F. Opposite to this letter, you perceive 12 marks, signifying so many times 10 men, like those at the letter A. The hut with the 2 trees being the arms of the Tsonontuans shows that they were of that nation, and the man in a lying posture speaks that they were surprised. G. In the row which answers to this letter, there appears a club and 11 heads, importing that they had killed 11 Tsonontuans, and the 5 men standing upright upon the 5 marks signify that they took as many times 10 prisoners of war. H. Opposite to this letter, you see 9 heads in an arch, the meaning of which is that 9 of the aggressors, or of the victorious side, which I suppose to be French, were killed, and the 12 marks underneath signify that as many were wounded. I. Opposite to this letter, you see arrows flying in the air, some to one side and some to the other, importing a vigorous defense on both sides. K. At this letter, you see the arrows all pointed one way, which speaks the worsted party either flying or fighting upon a retreat in disorder. The meaning of the whole is in a few words as follows. 180 Frenchmen set out from Montreal in the first quarter of the July moon, and sailed 21 days, after which they marched 35 leagues over land, and surprised 120 Tsonontuans on the east side of their village, 11 of whom were killed and 50 taken prisoners. The French sustaining the loss of 9 killed and 12 wounded after a very obstinate engagement. This may serve to prompt you and me to return thanks to God for vouchsafing to us the means of expressing our thoughts by the bare ranking of 23 letters, and above all of writing in less than a minute a discourse that the Americans cannot decipher with their impertinent hieroglyphics in the space of an hour. Though the number of those dark symbols is of no large extent, yet 'tis very perplexing to an European, for which reason I have contented myself in learning only such of them as are most essential, the knowledge of which I owe to necessity more than curiosity. I could send you others that are as extravagant as these I now send you, but considering that they will be of no use to you, I choose to save myself the labor of drawing them upon paper, and you the trouble of looking them over. I am, sir, yours, etc.